Geiger, please raise your right hand to be sworn, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly for the jurors. You may examine the ring.
Yes, sir. Perfect. Thank you. Please say your name and spell your name.
My name is James Geiger, Geiger.
Sir, where do you live?
I live in Tallahassee.
How long have you lived at that residence?
It's getting pretty close to 50 years now, I think 48 or 49.
All right. I want to take you back to July 18th of 2024. Now I've got an ad on me. Do you recall something unusual that happened that day? I'm sorry, I said 2024. 2014, sir. You know what case we're here about. Do you remember what happened on that date?
Yes, I do.
All right. Could you please tell our jurors how something unusual first got your attention?
It was a Friday morning, about 10:30. My wife and I were sitting in our living room looking out towards Trescott Drive, out to the street. And as we were sitting there, we were doing something with our iPads, and we heard a noise, a popping, loud sound, bang sound, and we immediately got up and walked to the front. We have a big picture window. Walked up to see if we could determine what had happened and where it had come from. We weren't sure it was to the right or to the left. And,
all right, let me pause you right there and show you a couple photographs that I have as marked as states 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Do you recognize these photographs, sir?
Yes, I do.
Are these fair and accurate photographs of your residence at that time, as well as the view from the window you've described?
Yes, it's true.
Judge, at this time I'd ask to admit 1 through 3 and publish.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
States 1 through 3 are admitted.
If we could publish states 1, please. All right, sir, so if you could just explain, give me that pointer, please, what we're looking at in this photo, and I've got a pointer here, if that's of any assistance to you. Push the middle button, you get a red dot. You don't have to use it. Oh, if you are going to use it, though, use it on the big screen, please, sir. All right, so just describe what we're looking at in this photo, states 1.
This is taken from Trescott Drive. The house on the right is my house, and the house on the left was Danny's house.
Okay, and the bay window that you've described, is that what is pictured in this portion of the photo right here? Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's correct.
Publish states 2, please. Sir, is this the view from that window?
Yes,
All right.
this is what I saw as I looked out.
Okay, and the driveway that we can see there on the right side of the window, is that Dan Markel's driveway?
Yes, it is.
All right, so you've described that something got your attention. Can we have states 3, please?
Well, as I mentioned, I wasn't sure where the noise had come from, and I looked to the left and to the right, and as I looked to the right, there was a car that was rapidly backing out of the driveway and immediately headed down in that direction towards Benton Road. It caught my attention because it seemed to be going so fast. And I noticed what it looked like and that caught my attention, although quite frankly it was out of the corner of my eye. It appeared to be a Prius, a light-colored Prius, maybe silver or white.
Okay.
What if I told you that the person you trust most, the family you die for, could be the very architects of your destruction? That money, privilege, and a prestigious last name could buy not just comfort, but calculated violence? This is the story of how a Ferrari-driving periodontist believed he could outsmart everyone, including himself, and the exact moment that illusion shattered. It's about a family so consumed by their own desires that they convinced themselves murder was just another problem to solve, another obstacle to remove from their perfectly curated lives. But before we dive into this twisted tale of family loyalty turned deadly, I need you to do something. If you're fascinated by cases where the mask of normalcy hides something truly disturbing, where every phone call and every word becomes evidence, hit that subscribe button right now. This is Dark Trail Files, where we don't just tell you what happened, we show you why it matters. We peel back the layers of these cases to reveal the human psychology underneath, the moments where people make choices that will haunt them forever. Turn on notifications, because cases like this, with developments still unfolding, with appeals pending and potential charges looming, require you to stay ahead of the story. This channel is your front row seat to justice unfolding in real time. Now, let's begin.
So something got your attention. What was that?
Well, that was what got my attention, and then...
Was the vehicle itself?
Excuse me?
Was the vehicle itself, or some noise preceded you seeing the vehicle?
Well, initially we had heard this loud noise, which we weren't exactly sure it was. It could have been a gunshot, we weren't sure. And then when I saw the car back out, that prompted me then to walk next door. There had been in the neighborhood a few break-ins, burglaries, and my first thought was that somebody was trying to break into the Markel house. And so I went out the front door and walked across over to Danny's house to see if anything had been damaged, maybe tried to be broken into the garage or something.
Yes, sir. When you looked out, you said you saw the car back out and then exit toward Benton Road. Would that be going this direction to the right of the photograph or toward the left of the photograph?
It would be towards the right.
Okay, so out this way. And you said you walked over there just to sort of look around, make sure everything was okay. What did you see?
As I approached his garage, I noticed that the garage door was open, his car was inside, and the motor was running. And so I thought then, well, I guess so much for a burglary. I don't think that's happened if Danny's there. So I turned around and walked back to my house.
Okay. What happened next?
After that, I can't tell you why, but I just stood at my front window and looked out and waited for a few minutes, maybe 3 or 4, up to 5. And for some reason, it just didn't quite seem right. Danny hadn't backed out, and I thought by this time he should have backed out of his driveway, and he didn't. And so I said to my wife, I think something just seems wrong. I'm going to walk back over. And so I did that.
All right. And what did you see when you got over there?
Excuse me?
What did you see when you got over there the second time?
Well, when I went back the second time, I noticed that the garage door was still up, the car was still running, and this time I thought, maybe I better walk on into the garage. He's probably in the driver's seat. He's probably on a cell phone talking, but I just wanted to make sure everything was okay.
Yes,
and
sir.
so I walked into the actual driveway then, and I saw that the window, the driver's side window, had been shattered, and I stepped on glass at that same time. As I looked inside, I saw a bloody head, and the head was slowly moving back and forth, rolling back and forth, left to right. And I hollered immediately, "Danny, what happened?" And I didn't get any response other than the head rolling, and so I hollered again, Danny, what's happened?" Still nothing. And at that point, I knew that I had to get the emergency medical team there as quickly as I could. I reached into my pocket to pull out my cell phone, which is where I normally keep it, and it wasn't there. And I thought, gee, I've left it back on the couch at the house. And so I quickly dashed back to the house, got the phone, and called 911.
How many minutes do you estimate elapsed between the time you saw the Prius backing out, or really I should say the time you heard the loud bang, to the time that you were able to reach 911?
Less than 10 minutes, more than 5 minutes, somewhere in there, I would say.
I'm going to approach and show you what I've marked as State's Exhibits 4, and then I also have 6 and 7. This is number 4, and I'll draw your attention to some initials on number 4, and then also 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
All right, Judge, at this time I'd ask to move into evidence 6 and 7.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 6 and 7 are admitted.
Publish State 6, please.
You may.
Sir, is this how the vehicle was positioned when you went over there and found Mr. Markel so badly injured?
Yes, that looks correct.
Publish State 7, please. Was the doors to the vehicle are open in this photograph? Were they open or closed when you went over?
No, they were all closed.
Okay, closed, and the only window that was damaged was that the driver's side window?
That's the only one I saw. That's if there were some others, I didn't look at any other windows. I just simply saw the driver's side that was completely shattered.
All right, yes, sir. And State's Exhibit 4, is this consistent with the type of vehicle that you observed in the driveway backing out that day?
Yes, it was, although I didn't quite see that angle.
Okay. Judge, at this time I'd ask to introduce States 4.
Objection to States 4.
No objection.
Admitted at this time.
All right, and you described it as a light-colored Prius. You weren't exactly sure of the color, maybe white, maybe silver, right?
Yeah, silver came to mind first, I guess, but certainly a light-colored vehicle.
I'm going to approach and show you State's Exhibit 5. Recognize States 5?
Yes,
Is that Mr. Markel?
yes, it is.
All right, may I introduce States 5, Your Honor?
No objection. States 5 is admitted.
Publishing States 5. What did you know about Mr. Markel?
Well, this occurred in 2014, and Danny and Wendy were newlyweds and had moved in about 5 years earlier than that. They moved next door. We were not particularly close to either one. We would see them occasionally out on the street. The memorable thing, and the other neighbors would tell you, is that when they first moved in, they had a housewarming event, and they invited all the neighbors in, and we attended it. That was our first time to see them and visit them. They seemed like a nice young couple, and but after that, we weren't particularly close.
Did they have a couple little children living there?
Well, when they first moved there, they didn't, but after a year or two, they had a first child, and then later a second child.
All right, and at the time that Mr. Markel was shot, had his wife, Wendy, moved out? Had they separated?
Yeah, we had understood that they were going through a divorce. And Wendy had left, and after that, we rarely saw Danny, and I don't think we ever saw the kids either. But
Were you familiar with Mr. Markel's profession?
yes, I knew that he was an attorney. Both of them were, and they were connected with the FSU Law School, I believe. But I didn't know their exact positions there.
Yes, sir. Publish 4 again, please. Are you able to tell the jurors anything about the occupants of this vehicle on that day?
No, I only saw it just briefly, and to notice what kind of car it was. I couldn't tell you who was inside. The windows were dark as far as I could see. I didn't even know if it was 2-door or 4-door. I just didn't see anything like that.
During the time that you were present at the scene of the shooting, did Mr. Markel ever regain consciousness or ever say anything that you heard?
No, I never heard him say anything. The only notion was that his head kept rolling back and forth during the 911 call, which it took forever to try to get the emergency vehicle there, the emergency medical team. They would occasionally ask if he was still breathing. And I would walk back up into the garage, and his head was moving still. And I said, well, his head's moving. So I assume he's still breathing.
Yes, sir. Have you had an opportunity to review that recorded call that you made to 911 that day?
Yes, I have.
All right. And was it a fair and accurate recording of that call?
Yes.
All right, Judge, at this time I'd ask to move into evidence states 88.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 88 is admitted.
May I publish?
Go ahead.
What's your emergency?
It's right next door at my house, which is 2122 Trescott Drive.
Can you repeat that for verification?
2122 Trescott Drive, the T.
Okay, the phone number you're calling from?
I'm calling from 850-212.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
We heard a loud bang and a car pulled away from next door. I came over and looked in, the garage door was up. And I thought the gentleman was backing out, and I went back to my house, but he never backed out. And I came back over, and his driver's side window is shattered, and he's battered, and can't answer. He's inside. I don't know if somebody tried to shoot him or if he shot himself or what. I don't know.
And it was at this location, correct?
Right next door. I'll give you mine. I don't know his address. It's next door.
Okay.
He didn't send an ambulance in a hurry. EMG. He's still alive. He's moving.
Okay. What's going on with it?
I don't know. The driver's side window is all bashed in. He's inside. The car is running, and he's got blood all over his head. He's not responding to me. That number, by the way, is 2116. 2116.
All right, that's the first few minutes of a 14-minute call. Is that how long it took them to get somebody to you?
Seemed to me a lot longer.
Seemed like 14 hours, didn't it?
Long time.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination for Mr. Geiger.
No question, Your Honor.
Mr. Geiger, you may step down, sir. Is he released from his subpoena? Will anyone need to recall him for any purpose?
He's released, Your Honor.
Have a good day, sir.
July 18th, 2014. Tallahassee, Florida. A brilliant legal mind, a devoted father, a man whose students described him as challenging but caring, pulled into his garage for the last time. Dan Markel, a law professor at Florida State University, had just finished his daily routine at the gym. At 41 years old, he was at the peak of his career. He graduated from Harvard Law School. He'd built a reputation as one of the brightest minds in criminal law theory. His academic papers were cited by scholars around the world. His classroom was known as a place where intellectual rigor met genuine care for students. He was difficult, yes. Demanding, absolutely. But he was also deeply invested in making his students better thinkers, better lawyers, better people. Dan had no idea that two men had been following him throughout his morning errands, waiting for this exact moment. No idea that his ex-wife's family had already decided his fate months earlier, that they'd put a price on his life, that they'd found people willing to pull the trigger for money. The assassins had tracked him to the gym, followed him through his routine, watched him get in his car. They'd been patient, professional, cold. As Dan pulled into his driveway, as he prepared to walk into his home where he would spend time with his 2 young sons that afternoon, the rental car pulled up behind him. The trigger was pulled. The bullet tore through the driver's side window and found its mark. And Dan Markel's 2 young sons, just 3 and 4 years old at the time, would never see their father alive again. They would never receive another bedtime story from him. Never hear him laugh at their jokes. Never feel his arms around them. All of that was stolen in an instant, in a quiet suburban garage on a summer afternoon. The desperation in that call, the confusion of a neighbor who had just witnessed something unthinkable, would mark the beginning of an investigation that would take nearly a decade to fully unravel.
911, what's the address of your emergency case then? Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
We heard and looked in, the garage door was up, and I thought the gentleman was backing out, and I went back to my house, but he never backed out, and I came back over, and his driver's side window is shattered, and he's battered and can't answer. He's inside. I don't know if somebody tried to shoot him or if he shot himself or what. I don't know. He didn't send an ambulance in a hurry. An EMT. He's still alive. He's moving.
Okay, what's going on with him?
I don't know. The driver's side window is all bashed in, and he's got blood all over his head. He's not responding to me. I think you need to hurry.
Yeah, I'm going to get him on the way to you. I just want to ask you a few questions, okay?
Go ahead, but send them as you're asking.
Yes, sir. They're already on the way, okay? Are you with him now?
Very good. I'm standing right outside the garage door.
Can you tell me how old he is?
I don't know. He looks like maybe 35 or 40.
Hang on 1 second for me, okay?
Okay.
All right, sir. I apologize about that. What was how old is the patient again? I'm sorry.
I can't tell. He looks maybe 35 or 40. I don't know.
Okay. And is he awake?
He's just moving his head around, but he's not responding. I've called his name, asked what's going on, or not call his name, but ask him what's happening. He's not responding to that, but his head's kind of rolling around.
Okay. Is he conscious?
Well, I can't tell.
Okay. Is he breathing?
I can't tell that. I'm assuming he's breathing if he's moving his head around.
Did you ever hear him talk or anything?
No.
Okay. You said he's sitting in the car, right?
Correct, in the driver's seat.
Okay. Where
Driver's
exactly
seat.
is he? In the driver's seat? You know,
In the driver's seat.
Is he in the garage or?
In the garage.
Okay. Can you direct the emergency crews to him, sir?
Sure.
Okay. All right, I'm sending the paramedics to help you now. Just stay on the line. I'll tell you exactly what to do next.
Okay.
If it's safe to do so, see if he is conscious and breathing or moving at all, okay?
It's not safe for me to do. I don't want to put my hand in here.
Okay. Well, help's on the way.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be standing by. And I've heard about break-ins in the area, and so I decided to walk over and take a look. And the garage door was up and asked him what was happening. And then I saw the window was shattered, and he's got blood. I'm going to be over here waiting for the EMT, honey. Okay, go ahead, but just tell the kids to hold on inside. They're okay. But tell them I'm out here.
All right, just stay on the line with me for now, okay, sir?
Okay,
I got him on the way to you.
Very good. I'm standing at the street, so if I see him coming down the street, I can direct him right in.
So he won't respond to you at all?
Not
you
to me.
Holler at him
in the
or
window.
anything?
Yeah, he didn't respond, but his head kind of moving around.
Okay.
But I've walked away from the car right now. I'm standing at the street, so.
And he's...
No.
Okay.
He's inside. The window's shattered. The garage door was up.
Okay.
Where is the vehicle dispatched from?
I'm not sure. Give me a second. I'll try to see where they are, okay? Is he still moving around?
I don't know. I'm standing at the street now trying to wait for your vehicle. Did you say you were checking on where it was?
Yes, sir.
Or where it's coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Where is it coming from?
I'm checking.
Okay.
Got several people on the way. like one person's coming from McClay Road.
Okay, well, it may take them a while to get here then. We're close to the hospital, so.
So you're saying his head is bloody now?
Yeah, it's been bloody. I mean, it's the window shattered. I don't know if he's tried to shoot himself. I don't know what the situation is.
And it's the driver's side window, correct?
That's correct. He's still moving around, so he's alive.
Okay. Looks like I should have an officer coming up the roadway.
Okay, well, we need EMT.
Well, the officer's going to be there first. They're not going to come until we figure out what's going on, but they're on the way as well, okay?
He better be if this guy's got a shot living.
Yes, sir. They're on the way as well, okay?
Yeah, it looks like could be an officer now.
See there?
Yeah, he's just coming up right now.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, sir, okay?
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
But here's what makes this case different from every other murder for hire you've heard about. This wasn't about a business deal gone wrong. This wasn't about drugs or organized crime in the traditional sense. This was about custody, about a mother who wanted to move her children closer to her family, about a grandmother who couldn't stand the thought of her grandchildren being 300 miles away, and about a brother, Charlie Adelson, who would allegedly do anything to make his sister happy, even if it meant erasing the father of her children from existence. The divorce between Dan Markel and Wendy Adelson had been bitter. When relationships end between two strong-willed people, especially when children are involved, the battles can be brutal. But Dan had won something Wendy desperately wanted. The court had ruled that she could not relocate their two sons from Tallahassee to South Florida, where the Adelson family's wealth and dental practice empire were centered. She had 50-50 custody, but she was stuck in Tallahassee, away from her family, away from the life she'd built before marrying Dan. The custody fight had been intense. Wendy wanted to move the children to Miami, where her parents lived, where her brother worked, where the family business thrived. She painted a picture of a better life for the boys in South Florida, surrounded by extended family, opportunities, the warmth of the Adelson circle. But Dan fought back. He argued that he had a right to be in his sons' lives, that uprooting them from Tallahassee would damage his relationship with them, that the court should consider his parental rights as equal to Wendy's. And the judge agreed. The ruling was clear. The children would remain in Tallahassee. Wendy could not relocate them without Dan's permission, and Dan was never going to give that permission. For the Adelson family, this was unacceptable. This wasn't just about Wendy's happiness. This was about family pride, about control, about the belief that the Adelsons should get what they want when they want it because they had the money and connections to make things happen. Emails from Donna Adelson to family members dripped with contempt for Dan. She called him names. She expressed rage that he was keeping her daughter and grandchildren away from the family. She made it clear in writing that she viewed Dan Markel as the enemy, as the obstacle preventing her family from being whole. And according to prosecutors, that's when the planning began. When frustration turned to conspiracy. When anger became action. Charlie Adelson was not a man accustomed to hearing the word no. Born into wealth, educated, successful in his own right as a periodontist, he lived a life that most people only dream about. Expensive cars, including the Ferrari that would become a symbol of his privilege. A thriving dental practice in South Florida where wealthy clients paid premium prices for his services. The kind of confidence that comes from never having to worry about money, never having to compromise, never having to accept outcomes you don't like. Charlie had been raised in a family where problems had solutions, and those solutions usually involved money or connections. Need a lawyer? The family had top attorneys on retainer. Want a business opportunity? The family network could make it happen. Face an obstacle? Write a check or make a phone call. This was the world Charlie inhabited, a world where wealth and privilege created the illusion that anything could be fixed, managed, controlled. He was intelligent, articulate, successful. But there was something beneath that polished surface, something that investigators would spend years trying to prove and that a jury would eventually see clearly. Charlie Adelson, prosecutors would later argue, saw problems as things to be solved, obstacles as things to be removed. And Dan Markel had become the biggest obstacle in his family's life. Not just an inconvenience, not just a difficult ex-husband, but a fundamental barrier to the family being together the way they wanted to be together. And in Charlie's worldview, shaped by decades of getting what he wanted through money and manipulation, removing that barrier seemed almost logical. Not moral, perhaps. Not legal, certainly. But logical in the cold calculus of someone who'd never been taught that some problems can't be solved with money. The murder itself was clinical, efficient. Two men, Sigfrido Garcia and Luis Rivera, members of the Latin Kings gang, drove from South Florida to Tallahassee in a rented Toyota Prius. They checked into motels. They tracked Dan Markel's movements. They waited. And on that July afternoon, they followed him home. Rivera would later testify that he was the driver, that Garcia was the shooter. But both men would eventually be convicted. Garcia received life in prison. Rivera took a plea deal, hoping for leniency in exchange for his testimony. But prosecutors knew these men were just the trigger men. Someone had hired them. Someone had paid them. And that someone had a very familiar last name. Enter Katherine Magbanua. She was the connection, the bridge between Charlie Adelson's world of wealth and privilege and the street-level violence that would end Dan Markel's life. Katie, as she was known, had been romantically involved with both Charlie Adelson and Sigfrido Garcia at various points. She had children with Garcia. She had a relationship with Charlie. And according to prosecutors, she was the person who made this murder possible. She was the go-between, the translator of Charlie's desires into actionable violence. When Katie finally took the stand, her words would paint a picture of a woman caught between two worlds, but her denials couldn't explain away the money, the phone calls, or the timing of everything that happened.
Ma'am, please say your name and spell your name.
Katherine Magbanua, Katherine Magbanua.
I see that you're in jail clothes. Are you currently in custody?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you in custody for?
For murder?
Are you doing a sentence for murder?
Yes, ma'am.
You were convicted of murder?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a trial in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you testify?
Yes, ma'am.
You testified on your own behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And when you testified, were you truthful with the jury?
No, ma'am. I was not.
Did you take the same oath that you just took today in your own trial?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your defense when you were tried?
That I had nothing to do with it.
All right. That we got it right in reference to Charlie Adelson and we got it right in reference to the killers,
Yes,
but you
ma'am.
weren't in the middle.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that true?
No, ma'am, it was not.
Were you in the middle?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And didn't you also testify in the trial in which Sigfrido Garcia was convicted of murder?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And what was his defense?
That he had nothing to do with it.
That we got it right in reference to Charlie Adelson and we got it right in reference to the killers, but he had nothing to do with it,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Objection, Your Honor. Read.
Overruled, Ms. Calhoun, make sure you use up any questions.
And was that defense truthful?
No, ma'am, it was not.
So Sigfrido Garcia was involved.
Yes, ma'am, he was.
So why tell the truth now?
I believe that the truth needed to come out now so that the family can get some type of closure.
Why didn't the truth need to come out last year or the year before or the year before that?
I was trying to defend myself.
You were trying to get off.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you think you'd be successful in your trial with that defense?
I thought so.
Has anyone promised you anything for your testimony here today?
No, ma'am.
Weren't you originally offered immunity for cooperation in this case?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
But you didn't take us up on that
No, ma'am, I didn't.
because you thought you could get off completely.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
And now you're doing a life sentence.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Did Charlie Adelson threaten to harm you if you told the truth?
No, ma'am, he didn't threaten me.
Did anybody threaten you to keep your silence?
No, ma'am.
Did anybody promise you anything if you remained silent all these years?
I wasn't promised anything, but I wasn't promised anything.
Go ahead, finish your thought. You weren't promised anything, but what?
I thought everything was going to be okay.
You thought you'd be acquitted.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so did you know Dan Markel?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you have any personal beef with him?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What was your motivation for becoming a part of this murder plot?
Financially.
So not as a favor to Charlie Adelson?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading the objection.
I'll rephrase it, Your Honor. Was it a favor to Charlie Adelson?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay, but your primary motivation was not favor to Charlie Adelson?
Well, yes, ma'am, it was. And financially.
All right, because you were going to get paid for
Yes.
your part?
Yes,
How much
ma'am.
did you get paid?
I don't know the exact amount.
What was your relationship to Charlie Adelson?
He was my ex-boyfriend.
When did you meet him?
I believe that was in 2013.
Do you know what month?
Has to be around September.
Can you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
He's sitting over there with a blue jacket and a blue tie.
Let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect.
Show you what are marked as states 48. You recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How do you recognize it?
That's when we went to Key West.
Is that a fair and accurate photo of you and Charlie Adelson?
Yes, ma'am, it
Is
is.
that when the two of you were taken when the two of you were dating?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, at this time I'd ask to move into evidence states 48.
Any objection? No objection, Your Honor. 48 is admitted.
Do we have that for publication? So was this photo taken before or after the murder?
Before.
Who came up with the idea to kill Dan Markel?
Charlie.
So Sigfredo Garcia didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Luis Rivera didn't come up with the idea?
No, ma'am, he did not.
When did the defendant first bring this idea up to you?
My first recollection was around Halloween of 2013.
Around Halloween or on actual?
On Halloween, yes, ma'am.
All right. What's your recollection of how that came up?
We were at a Halloween party in Lincoln Road, and right before we were about to go, he got in the car with me and he asked me a question.
What was the question?
Do you know anybody that can harm someone?
And did you know anybody that could harm someone?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Who was that?
Sigfredo.
And at the time, what was your relationship with Sigfredo?
Wasn't the best.
But he was the father of your children, right?
Yes, ma'am. He is.
So were you dating both men at this time, or were you only dating
No,
Charlie?
I was only dating Charlie.
Okay. And so he meaning the defendant, initially said, do you know anyone that could harm someone? Was he aware of your connection to Sigfredo Garcia when he made that statement?
Not that I know of. No, ma'am.
Did you suggest Sigfredo Garcia at that time to the defendant?
No, ma'am.
What did you say?
I just said yes and kind of left it alone.
All right. Did it go any further than that at that time?
Not that night. I don't
Did
believe
you
so.
know who he wanted harmed
Did
at that time?
no, ma'am.
All right. Had you become aware during the course of your relationship with him that he had some kind of issue going on with his sister's ex-husband?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What did you learn about that?
He was just stating that his family wasn't, his mom and dad was stressed, and that his sister was having problems with her husband and custody of her 2 children.
And when did you learn that the person that the defendant wanted harmed was this ex-husband of the sister?
I believe later on.
All right. And when did you learn the name Dan Markel?
It wasn't until, I don't know if it was on my trial or when Sigfredo got arrested.
Okay, so even when he was killed, you didn't know the name of the person that was being killed?
Yes, I never knew his name.
How did the defendant refer to this person, if not by the name Dan or Danny Markel?
Wendy's husband.
So you knew that the person that was going to be initially harmed was Wendy's husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew that there were issues, or what did you know about the beef with him?
He painted this picture that this was a terrible man and making his family go through a lot custody-wise with his sister.
Right, and when he would say these things to you, is it in the context of his mom specifically or his family in general?
I believe it was more towards his mom.
Meaning what?
That his mom hasn't been sleeping, his mom is not eating. I know his dad wasn't the best health either, but he would refer to his mom a lot.
All right. And the reason she wasn't sleeping or eating, did that have to do with this ex-husband of Wendy?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever...
After the murder, something interesting happened. Money started flowing. Charlie Adelson began making payments to Katherine Magbanua, checks that would total over $100,000. His explanation? He was being extorted. He claimed that after Dan's murder, Katie told him that unless he paid, he would be next. She gave him 48 hours to come up with $1/3 of $1 million. He could only scrape together $138,000. She graciously agreed to let him pay the rest in monthly installments of $3,000. It was, according to Charlie, a shakedown. He was the victim, but prosecutors saw it differently. They saw it as payment for services rendered, payment for arranging a murder. For years, the case moved slowly. Garcia and Rivera were arrested in 2016. Katherine Magbanua's first trial ended in a mistrial. Her retrial in 2022 resulted in conviction. She received life in prison plus 60 years. But the Adelson family remained untouched. They were named in court. They were discussed in testimony. But no arrest came. Not yet. Then came the bump. In April 2016, nearly 2 years after the murder, the FBI decided to force the conspirators' hands. They set up an operation targeting Donna Adelson, Charlie's mother. This wasn't a random decision. The FBI had been investigating for years, gathering evidence, building their case, but they needed something more. They needed the conspirators to talk. They needed them to reveal themselves. So they designed an operation that would exploit the one thing they knew the Adelsons feared: exposure. An undercover FBI agent, specially trained in covert operations and still working undercover to this day, posed as a Latin Kings gang member connected to Luis Rivera. He approached Donna outside her South Beach condo on a spring morning. Picture this moment. Donna Adelson, a 70-something bookkeeper at her family's dental practice, a grandmother who lived in comfort and security, suddenly confronted by a stranger who knew things. The agent handed her a newspaper article about Dan Markel's murder with $5,000 written on it and a phone number. He mentioned Katie. He mentioned Tato, Rivera's gang nickname. He said his brother hadn't been taken care of the way Katie and Tudo had been taken care of after the family problem up north was resolved. He never mentioned Charlie by name. He didn't have to, but Donna knew exactly what this meant. Someone connected to the murder was demanding money. Someone was threatening to expose them. The psychological pressure of that moment must have been immense. For nearly 2 years, The Adelson family had lived with this secret, this knowledge of what they'd done. They'd seen the news coverage. They'd watched the investigation unfold. They'd probably convinced themselves that they'd gotten away with it, that their careful planning and coded language had protected them. And now, suddenly, that illusion was shattered. The past had caught up with them, walking right up to Donna on the street in broad daylight. What happened next will become some of the most damning evidence in the entire case. Because when people think they're being extorted, when they believe they're in danger, they start talking, and the FBI was recording every word.
Hello? Hola, diga. Hello, diga. Who is this? Who's this? Someone's been calling my family and trying to figure out who this is. In reference to what, man? Someone by the name of Sammy called? Yeah, that's me, man. All right, what's going on? Well, what's going on is my brother Tato. Okay, my brother Tato has not been taken care of. His family's not been taken care of. I talked to a dentist. Why are you calling me? Who are you? I gave the number to a lady. I don't know Tato. You don't know Tato? I'm sure you know Katie and Tuto. They've been taken care of since the family problem been taken care of up north. I don't know who you are. You don't? Well, this isn't going away, my friend. Because let me tell you something. I was at Broward with Tato, and he told me the whole story. He told me nobody was taking care of him. Nobody was taking care of his family. The family was taking care of Katie and Tuto, and nothing's been taken care of with Tato. So we know what's going on. And Tato needs to be taken care of. Do the right thing. The lady already has the paperwork. She knows what I'm talking about. We know Katie. We know Tuto. We know they've been taken care of. All right, let me look at it. No more f***ing around, man. No more f***ing around. This ain't going away. You guys need to do the right thing for Tato. That's my brother, man. That's my brother, and he needs to be taken care of. His family needs to be taken care of, just like Katie and Tuto have been taken care of. I've never met these people, but let me call you back, okay? That's bullshit, man. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know this lady. I don't know your relationship with this lady, but we know what the f*** is going on. This ain't going away. Take care of Tato just like you take care of Katie and Tuto, man.
Within minutes of the bump, Donna called Charlie. Not her husband, not the police. Charlie. And Charlie called Katie. And Katie called Garcia. The bump had worked exactly as intended. It had set off a chain reaction of panicked phone calls, all captured on wire. And in those calls, Charlie and his mother spoke in what they thought was code. They talked about TV shows. They talked about insurance. They talked about rental properties. But prosecutors would argue that these weren't innocent conversations. They were discussing the murder, the money, and what to do about this new threat. The day after the bump, Charlie met with Katie at a restaurant called Dolce Vita in Miami. The meeting was captured on hidden cameras and recording devices worn by undercover FBI agents. The restaurant was noisy. The audio was initially unclear. But Charlie said something during that meeting that would haunt him for years. He wondered aloud whether the person who approached his mother was a blackmailer or a police officer. He talked about smoke grenades and cockroaches. He said, quote, "If they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport." At the time, the recording wasn't clear enough to be used, but technology improved. Audio forensic experts worked on it. And in 2022, the enhanced recording was finally clear enough for prosecutors to act. When prosecutors confronted Charlie with the theory that he'd been speaking in code all along, his reaction was visceral, defensive, the kind of outburst that reveals how much pressure had been building beneath that confident exterior.
I was approached by another extortionist today. Does she say that?
No, she's talking very carefully.
And you say carefully, but isn't carefully the same thing as code?
No, they're two totally separate things. You know the difference?
You weren't really giving her money for a TV, were you?
Giving her money for a TV.
This TV is probably going to be about $5. I
Okay.
need you to bring cash tonight.
I wish she picked another object on planet Earth other than TV. But TV is code for absolutely nothing. There is no code in this case involving TV. And you keep circling and circling and circling TV, you're wrong.
Is it a coincidence that the repair of the TV that you bought Wendy as a divorce gift because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman is your sister's alibi for the murder, and then your mom brings up TV, first call on the wire?
It's not an alibi for a murder. She had a broken TV. You got to ask Lincoln who threw the remote at the TV.
Was it a coincidence? Is the TV thing a coincidence? That's what I hear you say.
Oh, that the repairman was there that day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is a coincidence for sure. There's a
And
couple
all
of coincidences in this case.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I said there's a couple of coincidences in this case. I mean, she had people send her an email to go buy a bottle of Bullet bourbon for their Stock the Bar party, and she was driving to a liquor store to buy a bottle of Bullet bourbon on that day, at that time, and her friend sent the email, and you have the email and evidence. Like, is that a coincidence? Yeah, coincidences happen.
And that you might not be the right Katie talk. That doesn't seem to really fit with your theory of the case, does it? What was your explanation for that? Why you kept saying you might not be the right Katie? I mean, she's definitely the right Katie, right?
Absolutely. She knew it was. I was implying it was her. I was just trying to say I'm not setting you up, but I need your help.
On call B, you call your mom back and you say, you probe her a little bit, and ultimately you say, you think someone's trying to blackmail you? That's crazy. Why does it sound like this is something that's new and unfathomable to you at that moment?
Well, because I wasn't even following what my mom was talking about on the first call. And on the second call, when she shocked me when she said that. And I'd been extorted before, and her saying to bring cash, everything just didn't sound right.
Could we play clip 4, please? This is from Dolce.
What, sorry, from what?
Clip 4 from Dolce.
Okay.
Even if they had any evidence, the first words out of your mouth on this clip, even if they had any evidence. No. Strike. The quote is, if they had any evidence, we'd have already gone to the airport. And I know you already testified about this, but does an innocent person say, if they had any evidence?
Right. Katie's saying it's the police, and I'm saying that we're innocent. They're not going to have any evidence to show we were part of something that we were part of. If we had any part of this, we'd be going to the airport right now. And I still say the same thing.
Isn't it true, doctor, that they're not going to have any evidence because you were careful?
No, because we weren't a part of this.
You were smart.
No, we weren't a part of this.
You walled yourself off from the killers.
I was sure they're not going to have evidence to show I did something I didn't do. So we're not running to the airport.
And you're untouchable, right?
No, we didn't do a murder. I wasn't part of a murder. There's no reason to run to the airport.
In the next clip, you're discussing what's going to happen if this person that did the bump goes to the police. And you're going through all these scenarios, these possibilities.
Wait, if he goes to the police?
Yeah, the blackmailer goes to the police. They're going to say, where's the weapon? He's not going to know. He's just going to have hearsay, basically. Someone told me they did it. It's not going to be enough to get the investigation anywhere. Why are you thinking through the possibility of the blackmailer going to the cops if the blackmailer doesn't have any dirt on you to take to the cops?
I wasn't thinking about the blackmailer. What I was trying to say is I don't know anything about Sigfredo. I don't know anything about this crime. I was trying to tell her that I'm harmless. I don't have any knowledge of what went on. Like, the last thing I wanted is that now that she's saying it's the police, is someone to come and kill me and think I'm some kind of loose end. So that's why I'm saying that.
But that's not what you're saying. You're saying if this is a person that Luis Rivera ran his mouth to, and they go to the police, it's going to be worth zero. Because they're not going to know anything other than, hey, my brother told me this.
I don't know if I was saying with someone who knows Luis Rivera. I was trying to make a point that I don't know anything.
And then you suggest what they would have to do is get him to wear a wire and get the person to confess, and that's probably what this could be, an effort to do, right?
Well, they're thinking that we were part of a murder. So this was the same thing I said before, is that this is their theory. So this is a police tactic, and it could be either a bad guy or the police, and this is how they're pursuing it.
Exactly. So as long as you keep your mouth shut, you can get away with murder, right?
No, not at all.
Isn't that what you told Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No, Ryan Fitzpatrick is someone who stole over $500,000 from me.
That's not my question, sir.
Sorry.
Did you say that to Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No, never. Never at all.
Why do you go into so much detail about rental car examples? Let's strike that. Can you agree that the Prius, you knew that the police were looking for a Prius at the time you met at this Dolce Vita restaurant?
I think it had been released at that time.
All right, and you heard the recording. You're arguing. Let's play the clip. This is going to be clip, I think let's play 7 and 8, please. Dolce.
Because the fact is like, even if, let's say, you just got in my car, and then I go ahead and I get in the car, and then I go, and you're dating in the car, I go, yeah, she was in my car, and he got out, and she did this horrible crime. Okay, they come and they get the DNA in the car, and they go, yep, he was in my car. He sat in the car for 2 minutes, got out of the AC, and then got out of the car. He had nothing to do with you guys murdering me. Outside of that, there's no evidence. Okay? You know, if you have a car and you can link this person to renting that car that you okay. But you have to prove that they were also driving that day and rented it and lent it to a friend. What if you rented a car and I go, Katie, can I borrow it for the weekend? I'll bring it back on Tuesday. You go, yeah, sure. So you rented a car. You've been in that car. I drive into fucking Orlando. I rob McDonald's in Orlando. I come back and I go, here's the keys, Katie. And you go, okay, thanks. Yeah, you rented it, but what if you were fucking out all weekend and you didn't even know I took your car? I did something and I brought it back. My point is, I don't have any knowledge of what evidently this person is either pretending to or does. I don't want someone paying business.
Sounds like you're saying even if they track down the Prius, even if there's DNA or fingerprints in the Prius, meaning like they can link someone to the Prius, that's not going to be enough evidence to make any arrests in this case. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. What I'm doing is I'm restating.
You've answered my question.
Can I give you an
On redirect, you'll have an opportunity.
Well,
my question was.
One moment.
My question
We're not
was,
just wildly arguing. Mr. Adelson, please answer the question.
Okay.
I can just ask you a yes or no question.
Please allow me to answer your question.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Work yourself out.
What I was saying to Katie is that the information she had just told me in the car about Sigfredo not being there when the crime was committed, she told me that Sigfredo was high on drugs at the hotel and that Luis had rented a car and that he's the one who killed Dan. And I'm restating to her that I don't have any knowledge of what went on, and that all I know is that Sigfredo wasn't even there when this happened. So that's what I'm restating to her.
That Sigfredo can't be caught even if he's connected to the crime, to the car?
I know that Sigfredo wasn't the one who killed Dan.
Okay.
April 22nd, 2022. Nearly 8 years after Dan Markel's murder, Charlie Adelson was arrested. He was indicted on charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The periodontist who had spent years living his life as if nothing had happened, who had continued working, socializing, existing in his bubble of wealth, was finally facing justice. And 1 week after Charlie's conviction, his mother Donna was arrested at Miami International Airport with a one-way ticket to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. The family that had allegedly killed to stay together was now falling apart in the most public way possible. Charlie Adelson's trial began in October 2023, and from the beginning, the prosecution laid out a devastating case. They presented the phone records, the wiretaps, the financial transactions, the testimony of Luis Rivera, who described in detail how the murder was planned and executed. Rivera's words carried the weight of someone who knew he'd destroyed his own life. But he wasn't going down alone, and every detail he shared tightened the noose around Charlie Adelson.
I want to clarify one thing. You didn't extort Charlie Adelson, right?
No.
One moment. Veronica, are you having problems still hearing? All right. If you can assist him. Mr. Rivera, make sure you speak as loudly as you can, right, sir.
Thank you.
And the answer to that question was no, right?
No.
You were paid $37,000 in your role in the murder of Professor Markel, right?
Yes.
You were supposed to be paid $35,000.
Yes.
Sigfredo Garcia, the shooter, gave you an extra $2,000, right?
Yes.
Your understanding was that the total payment was $100,000, correct?
Yes.
And that it was a one-time payment.
Yes, sir.
And you were told that you, Sigfredo, and Katie were hired by a lady to do a murder for hire, right?
No. If I was told by the lady?
No, I'm sorry. Let me slow down. You were told by Sigfredo that all of you were hired by a lady to do the murder, right?
Yeah.
That you were doing it so that she could get her kids back.
Yes, sir.
And all of your information came from Sigfredo Garcia and Katie, correct?
Sigfredo, yes, sir.
Okay. And all of Sigfredo's information, to your knowledge, came from Katie, right?
Yes, sir.
Everything you knew about the murder plot came from Sigfredo.
Yes, sir.
According to you, Katie was the mastermind.
Yes, sir.
She was the one, as you've said, running the shots.
Yes, sir.
Anything that Sigfredo or you did in connection with the murder had to be cleared through Katie, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Sigfredo and Katie lied to you about a lot of things about this murder, right?
Lied about what?
Well, let's go through it. For starters, during the first trip in early June, Sigfredo told you that you were going to do a robbery, right?
Yes, sir.
Not until on the way up did you find out that you were going to do a murder.
Yes, sir.
Before the July trip, you didn't want to go, right?
Yes, sir.
And to convince you, Sigfredo again told you that you were just going there to scope things out.
Yes, sir.
During the second trip, the day before the murder, you drove by Professor Markel's house. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that at some point after you arrived at Markel's house, after noon on the 17th, you saw a woman and two kids walking on Trescott by the house.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And the woman looked at you as the Prius passed and immediately got on her phone.
Yes, sir.
You testified that you asked Sigfredo what was up with the lady. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And Sigfredo responded that that's her. That's the guy's wife. That's the one that wants the kids back.
Yes, sir.
You asked Sigfredo what the lady was doing there on Trescott with the kids.
Yes, sir.
And Sigfredo responded that she came there to make sure that everything was all right.
Absolutely.
Meaning all right with the plan.
Yes, sir.
As you sit here now, you're aware that the woman and the kids on the street was not the same lady, right?
I don't know if that was her or not, but she looked at my car.
It's possible that Sigfredo lied to you, right?
Who knows?
Another lie that Sigfredo and strike that, Your Honor. Your understanding is that the money for the murder would be paid by the lady, right?
Yes, sir.
Again, your understanding came from Sigfredo.
Yes, sir.
You didn't go with Katie to get the money, right?
No.
So you don't know where she got it from?
No.
And you don't know what happened when she got it?
No.
Sigfredo never told you that he and Katie got more than $100,000 the night of the murder, did he?
No.
That would make sense why you got an extra $2,000, right?
Maybe.
And Katie never told you that they got more than $100,000 the night of the murder, right?
No.
Sigfredo never told you that he and Katie were getting paid every month after the murder, right?
Never knew nothing about that.
You didn't know that they were getting paid $3,000 a month.
No.
You didn't know that they were getting paid $1,000 in Adelson Institute checks, did you?
Nope.
But you saw that Sigfredo was spending a lot of money, right?
Yes.
You saw that Sigfredo even told you that he had paid for Katie's breast augmentation surgery, right? Her breast surgery?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. If he told me about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He told you he paid for it, right?
That's what he said.
You didn't know that Katie was getting money from Charlie Adelson every month in an extortion plot, did you?
No.
In May of 2015, you get arrested on a federal RICO case, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were detained.
Yes, sir.
And you wanted to get out of prison, right? You wanted to get a bail.
Yeah.
You started thinking about the fact that Katie and Sigfredo seemed to be spending a lot of money, right?
No.
Okay. So let's briefly recap all the lies that they told you. Not that you made, but that they told you. They lied to you about the purpose of the trip going to Tallahassee, right?
Yeah.
They lied to you about who the lady was on the street.
Yeah.
They lied to you about the amount of money they received.
Yeah.
They lied to you about getting money every month.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it possible that they lied to you about the purpose of the job to begin with?
They don't even got the money. Where they gonna get the money from?
Isn't it possible that you thought it was a murder for hire, but it was really an extortion?
Extortion to who?
Charlie Adelson, not from you, but from them.
Okay.
Isn't it possible?
I don't know.
By the way, on Friday, you testified that you just wanted to rob the lady, right?
Yes, sir.
But Sigfredo was adamant. We can't rob the lady. We got to do the murder.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that because he wanted to keep on getting money every month?
I don't know.
But you would have just robbed him, right?
Yep.
Would have been a lot easier, right?
Real quick.
Would have been a one-time payment, right?
That's it.
Couldn't have gotten paid over time, though, right?
I don't know.
Well, if you rob someone, it's hard to keep robbing them over and over and over again.
Absolutely, of course.
All right, so I want to back up a little bit, and I thank you for your honesty there. You've never met Charlie Adelson, correct?
Nope.
You've never seen him before this case?
Nope.
You've never spoken to him by phone?
Never.
And you've never communicated with him in any way?
Never.
You've never met Donna or Harvey Adelson?
Nobody.
You never spoken to them by phone?
I didn't meet nobody.
And the same goes with Wendy Adelson, correct?
Nobody.
You knew Sigfredo your whole life?
Yes, sir.
You're like brothers?
Yes, sir.
You've known Katie since she and Sigfredo started dating when they were teenagers?
Yes, sir.
You considered them to be married?
Yes, sir.
Sigfredo was deeply in love with Katie, right?
Absolutely.
He would do, as you've said, anything for her, right?
Anything.
He was, as you said, blind over her, right?
Yes, sir.
Katie treated him badly.
Yes.
She messed up his head, as you've said, right?
Yes, sir.
At some point, you learned from Sigfredo that Katie was having a relationship with someone she worked with, right?
Yes, sir.
Sigfredo told you that Katie was cheating on him with someone called the dentist.
Yes, sir.
According to what Sigfredo told you, Katie was sleeping with the dentist at the same time she was sleeping with Sigfredo, right?
Yes, sir.
So Sigfredo knew that Katie was cheating on him,
Yes, sir.
and he wasn't too happy about it, right?
Nope.
Sigfredo told you that the dentist had money. Let me rephrase. Sigfredo told you that Katie told him the person she was with was rich.
No.
They showed the jury the enhanced recording from Dolce Vita. They walked them through the bump operation. They connected every from the murder scene in Tallahassee to the Adelson family's dental practice in South Florida. But Charlie had a defense. And surprisingly, he decided to testify. Taking the stand in your own murder trial is always a gamble. And when Charlie began recounting his version of events, particularly how he supposedly learned about Dan's death from his ex-girlfriend, the courtroom watched a man trying to rewrite a story that had already been written.
When you get to the house, you said you called Katie after your shower. Why did you call her?
To see if she was still planning on coming over and what time she was going to be there, because it was already like 10:15.
And did she come to your house that night?
Yeah, she said she was going to be leaving shortly, and I think I even said either text me or call me when you're on your way.
Did she actually come to your house that evening?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Around what time did she arrive?
She got there about 11 o'clock.
What happened when she arrived?
When she arrived to my house, she came in through the garage, entered into the kitchen from the side door like she always does, and she just looked panicked and upset. I mean, she walked straight in and gives me this big, tight hug and asked me, like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, just a horrible day." But she looked more upset than I've ever seen her. I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Just come sit down. I need to talk to you."
Where did you go?
We walked into the living room.
And what happened when you got to the living room?
We sat down on the couch, and she started to talk to me. And she said, "Listen, this is all my fault, but I had no idea anything was going to happen, but this is totally my fault. I spoke in too much detail about your family's personal problems, about your sister, Dan Markel, and the $1 million offer."
What did you say?
I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "My friend killed Dan, and he wants to be paid $1/3 of $1 million."
How did you react?
I was like, "What did you just say?" And she's like, "My friend killed Dan, and he wants you to pay $1/3 of $1 million."
What happened next?
I stood up, and I started cursing it. I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, who did this? Who's your friend that did this? And she's like, "I don't want to say. I can't say." And I said, who was it? And she just kept saying, "I'm not going to tell you." And I was like, was it Sigfredo? And she's like, "No, I'm not telling you." And I just walked in my bedroom and sat down on the edge of my bed.
What happened when you got in the bedroom?
She came into the bedroom, followed after me. She sat down next to me. She started telling me, like, "I'm so sorry. This is all my fault, but I didn't know any of this was going to happen." And I'm like, "Katie, I'm not going to be part of this shit. Like, I'm not going to be part of paying for a murder. This is insane."
Charlie Adelson spent hours on the witness stand. He maintained that he was a victim of extortion. He claimed Katherine Magbanua had threatened him after the murder, telling him that if he didn't pay, the killers would come for him next. He insisted that the coded language in the phone calls wasn't about murder at all. He said his family was being targeted unfairly. He presented himself as a successful businessman caught up in something he didn't understand. But the prosecution's cross-examination was withering. Prosecutor Georgia Kappelman had spent years building this case, And when she stood before the jury to deliver her closing argument, she didn't just present evidence. She told a story about a family that believed they were above the law.
In jury selection, we talked about the burden of proof and how it was my burden to prove this case to you beyond a reasonable doubt through evidence. And generally speaking, the defense's job is to poke holes in the evidence and argue that it falls short of meeting that high burden. And we also learned at jury selection that the defense does not have to prove anything. But sometimes if the law enforcement investigation is so thorough and so compelling that there's really no way to poke holes in the evidence, he has to basically admit his own words, his own text messages. That stuff is undeniable, right? And those things prove that he was in cahoots with Katherine Magbanua in 2013, through the murder in 2014, and all the way up until her arrest in October of 2016. He knows he can't deny that he paid the killers because of this bizarre practice he had of stapling his money. So sometimes when a defendant can't attack the facts or the law, they instead try to explain it away by saying, you can't trust what you're seeing. It's not what it appears to be. It's actually something else entirely. Often, as in this case, the individual explanation, so when you zoom in on one piece of evidence with its attached explanation, can be like, maybe. But when you zoom out and you add all these things together, this explanation, and this explanation, and this explanation, this coincidence, and this coincidence, and this coincidence, it starts making less and less sense. It starts being less and less reasonable. And when you zoom out from the defense's theory, it's really unreasonable, right? Because to find it reasonable, you have to buy a lot of things that he's selling. The most obvious of which is that because Sigfredo Garcia hated him, he and Rivera traveled to Tallahassee twice to kill someone he hated in hopes that he would give them money for it on the back end. Please think about that. To hit this defendant where it hurts, these two dudes with no connection at all to Dan Markel and without 2 nickels to rub together, rented a car and paid for gas to come to Tallahassee and stay in a hotel twice in order to kill someone that this defendant hated. To harm him. And for what? To maybe get money? Maybe he just turns him in for murder. Why not just kill and rob him if what you're after is money and there's no hired hit? Why not just kill and rob him if your motive is, we hate him? Then the bad guys don't even have any contact with him, according to his own story. They didn't threaten him, they did not beat him into submission. Instead, they sent his own girlfriend to extort him on their behalf. And without any actual contact from the bad guys, the defendant just opened up his safe and handed over his beloved money that he had saved his entire life since he was a child. He just handed it over. Take it all. And when that amount wasn't sufficient, these stone-cold murdering gangsters let the defendant go on a payment plan to give him the rest of the money. They let Katherine Magbanua skim off the top each month. And never, over the next 2 years that he was being extorted monthly, these gangsters, remember that money doesn't go to the principal, that $3,000 a month. They never show up to demand the remaining $195,000 that this defendant has agreed to pay them. Then, you also need to find reasonable that over the 2 years of this supposed extortion layaway plan, that the defendant continued to do what? Send these kissy faces and love texts to Katherine Magbanua. He's sending these messages to a woman who got him into this mess, and he says he didn't suspect she was involved. What do we know about this man? He didn't suspect she was involved. She's taking the money. He's never even heard from the bad guys. He didn't see it that way, that she got him into this mess. They grew closer after she began extorting him for $3,000 a month. Meanwhile, the defendant and Katherine Magbanua break up. She continues to maintain her direct and indirect contact with Sigfredo Garcia, the man who's extorting him, the man who murdered his former brother-in-law in cold blood. But he sees her as a friend. The kissy faces and the I love yous continue. Even after Katherine Magbanua got back together with the man who executed Dan Markel, the father of his young nephews, and a guy who's actively extorting him, this defendant continued to reach out to her over and over again to offer her favors and gifts, including a birthday gift for Garcia, and to tell her he loves her and how lucky he is to have her in his life. Lucky? Next, to find a reasonable doubt here, you have to find it reasonable that the defendant never texted or talked about this first layer of extortion. Why? According to him, because Katherine Magbanua said, let's never talk about this. So they didn't. Then you have to believe he never reported or revealed this information to law enforcement out of fear of the gangsters. And finally, you have to believe that this living in fear of death by gang members over 2 years didn't cause a change in his general demeanor that his friends noticed, but later the bump from law enforcement did. He says that's because, well, I became worried that I might be falsely arrested. So I wasn't a hot mess when I was being extorted by gang members and threatened to be killed and my whole family killed. But I became a hot mess when I started to get worried that the cops might be getting closer. And I have no real way of knowing if all this stuff sounds ridiculous to you, if it sounds reasonable to you, or if y'all just heard so much stuff that you're totally confused and can't even remember what the evidence in the case showed. But they only need to get one of you confused enough to derail this whole thing, right? So I've got to go through each thing with you. Your verdict has to be unanimous. So I want to go through the testimony, I want to review the evidence, and I want to spend a little bit more time talking about this multitude of explanations the defense has offered in an effort to really turn each piece of evidence on its head. This is Dan Markel. He is the victim in this case. A brilliant lawyer, a funny guy, a son, a colleague, a brother, a mentor, and a friend. But most of all, a father. A dedicated and loving father whose downfall was brought about by the fact that his number one priority was maximizing his access to those two little boys in the wake of a bitter divorce from their mother. And despite the defense's efforts to characterize their client as the real victim here, Dan Markel remains the only victim in this case. The only thing he was guilty of is fighting like hell for those kids. And he lost. He didn't lose in court, but he lost. This is what he looked like before this defendant hired a hitman to kill him. And this is what he looked like afterwards. The evidence has shown that on July 18, 2014, this brilliant man was gunned down in broad daylight in the driveway of his own home. His horrific death ultimately set police down two separate paths following the two most promising leads they had. The first was to chase down that Prius that Mr. Geiger saw fleeing the crime scene. And we'll examine those efforts in detail. The second path was to ask, as we would in any murder investigation, who might want to have done this? Who would want Dan Markel dead?
November 6th, 2023. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours. 3 hours to decide whether Charlie Adelson had orchestrated his ex-brother-in-law's murder. 3 hours to weigh all the evidence, all the testimony, all the recorded conversations. Think about that. Years of investigation, months of trial preparation, weeks of testimony, and the jury needed just 3 hours to reach unanimity. That tells you something about the strength of the evidence, about how clear the picture was once all the pieces were laid out. When they returned, the courtroom was packed. Dan Markel's family sat in their usual seats. Charlie's family members were there. Media filled the gallery. Everyone knew this was a pivotal moment, not just for Charlie Adelson, but for the entire case. The verdict was read. Guilty. Guilty of first-degree murder. Guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The man who had believed he could talk his way out of anything had run out of words. The man who thought coded language and careful planning made him untouchable had been touched by justice in the most profound way possible. And what happened in that moment reveals everything you need to know about who Charlie Adelson really was. His face, which had maintained that careful composure throughout the trial, that slight smirk that suggested he still thought he had a chance, that confidence that bordered on arrogance, all of it collapsed. You could see it happen in real time. The moment the word guilty was spoken, something shifted in his expression. It wasn't dramatic. He didn't scream or cry or protest. Instead, there was this subtle deflation, this recognition that his performance was over, that the audience had seen through him, that the script he'd been following for years no longer applied. This was the moment everything changed, when the reality of a life sentence collided with years of denial. And you could see in Charlie's face the precise second he understood that all his money, all his confidence, all his planning had meant nothing.
The verdict form is in its proper order. Madam Clerk, please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the Second Judicial Circuit in and for Leon County, Florida, the State of Florida versus Charles Adelson, case number 2016 CF 3036B, verdict. Count 1. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count 3. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 3 of the indictment, solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder. So say we all this 6th day of November, 2023.
The mandatory sentence for first-degree murder in Florida is life in prison. Charlie Adelson received life without the possibility of parole, plus 30 years each for the conspiracy and solicitation charges. His appeals are ongoing. He claims the trial should have been moved out of Tallahassee due to pretrial publicity. He argues there were conflicts of interest with his attorney. But as of now, he remains in prison, and every appeal has been denied. Sentencing day isn't just about the punishment, it's about the finality of it all. And when the words life without parole were spoken, they mark the end of one chapter and the beginning of another.
Counts be run concurrently.
Very well. Mr. Adelson, I'm going to give you the opportunity to make a statement if you wish. You do not have to speak. However, this is your opportunity if you choose to do so.
I do.
You may stand.
Same. I would just like to say that I maintain my innocence.
Well, please rise. I am now going to pronounce the sentence. With the jury having found you guilty of all 3 counts that you were charged with in your indictment, of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and solicitation to commit first-degree murder. I am going to adjudicate you guilty of all three at this time, and you are going to be sentenced as follows. As to count one, the first-degree murder count pursuant to section 782.04 and 775.082 Florida statutes, you are sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of release or parole. As to count two, you are going to be sentenced consecutively to 30 years in the Department of Corrections for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. As to count three, you are going to be sentenced to 30 years in the Department of Corrections consecutively for solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The credit for time served that applies in this matter is how much?
597.
597 days will be applied as credit for time served in this case. If the clerk could please read all fees and costs that would apply as well.
$2,100 as a fine pursuant to Florida Statute 775.083, $105 as a 5% surcharge required by Florida Statute 938.04, $20 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.06, Crime Stopper Trust Fund, $3 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.01, subsection 1, Criminal Justice Trust Fund, $50 pursuant to Florida Statute 938.03, Crimes Compensation Trust Fund, $225 pursuant to Florida Statute 938.05, Local Government Criminal Justice Trust Fund, $2 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.15, County Criminal Justice Education, County Code 7-26, $50 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 775.083, subsection 2, County Crime Prevention, $3 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.19, King Florida Assessment, Mayor County Florida Code 7-28, $65 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 939.185, County Additional Court Cost, County Code 7-24, with a total of $2,623.
Mr. Rauschbaum, is there any lawful objection for you to raise to the assessment as announced by the clerk?
No, Your Honor.
Those amounts will be assessed at this time. Ms. Kappelman, I will reserve 90 days of jurisdiction to address the cost of prosecution in this case. By statute, the state is entitled to the 100, but this is in excess of the 100 is what you're referring to.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. 30 days to appeal both your conviction and now your sentence. Mr. Adelson, you are going to be fingerprinted today, and from here you are going to be sent to the Department of Corrections to begin serving your sentence. Mr. Rauschbaum, if you please can timely file the notice of appeal so that way there is no issues regarding any review of the conviction itself. Does either party have anything further to raise to the court before we finish for today?
Nothing from the state.
No, Your Honor.
We are in recess. Mr. and Mrs. Markel, have a good day. Thank you for being available so you can provide your victim impact statements. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Cheyenne, you can take this. This is the pre-sentence investigation information. Two count one.
But this story doesn't end with Charlie. 1 week after his conviction, his mother, Donna Adelson, was arrested at the airport. The woman who had received that initial bump from the FBI agent. The woman whose phone calls with Charlie had been recorded and analyzed word by word. The woman who prosecutors believed was not just complicit, but central to the entire conspiracy. Think about the timing of her arrest. She was at Miami International Airport with a one-way ticket to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. Was she fleeing? Her attorney would later claim she was just taking a vacation, that the timing was coincidental. But prosecutors saw it differently. They saw a woman who had just watched her son convicted of murder and realized she might be next. Donna's trial took place in September 2025, nearly 2 years after Charlie's conviction. The evidence against her was substantial and, in many ways, even more damning than the case against Charlie. There were emails showing her intense hatred of Dan Markel. Messages where she expressed rage at him for keeping the grandchildren away. Communications where she made disparaging remarks about Dan, calling him names, questioning his fitness as a father. Testimony from her own son, Rob, describing how controlling she was, how much she despised Dan, how desperately she wanted Wendy and the children back in South Florida. Rob painted a picture of a matriarch who ruled the family with an iron fist, whose desires became marching orders for everyone else. The bump operation footage showed Donna's reaction to being confronted. The phone calls revealed her panic and her immediate impulse to involve Charlie. And perhaps most damaging, there were 44 checks signed by Donna from the Adelson family dental practice to Katherine Magbanua. 44 separate payments. Donna's signature on every single one. The prosecution argued these weren't just business payments. They were hush money, compensation for murder, evidence that Donna wasn't just aware of the conspiracy, she was financing it. Prosecutors also presented evidence that Donna had written down the make, model, and license plate number of Dan Markel's car at her daily planner, information that would have been crucial for the hitmen tracking their target. And they showed that Donna had dropped off money at Charlie's house on July 18, 2014, the very day Dan Markel was killed. Donna chose not to testify. Unlike her son, she remained silent. Her defense argued that she was a meddler, not a murderer, a concerned grandmother who got caught up in something her son orchestrated. But the jury didn't buy it. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the same amount of time it took to convict Charlie, they found Donna Adelson guilty on all counts. First-degree murder, conspiracy, solicitation. She gasped when the verdict was read. She sobbed. She had to be cautioned by the judge to control herself. And just like her son, she received a mandatory life sentence. In the hours after Charlie's conviction, when the reality was still sinking in, he called his mother from jail, and that conversation would reveal everything about how this family operated, how they consoled each other, how they still couldn't quite accept what had happened.
Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from
Charlie.
an incarcerated individual at the Leon County Jail. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept charges and consent to this recorded call, press 1.
Thank you for using Securus. You may start the
Charlie.
conversation now.
Charlie.
Hey. Hey, Dad, how are you?
How are you?
Okay.
I'm all right.
Where are you? Are you still in that cell?
Yeah, I'm still in here. They got. So the chief's gonna see me at some point today, and whenever he comes through, and then supposedly Dan's gonna come to the jail. And I asked them. They said when your attorneys get here, they'll take you out to see them. I'm sure I'll see them behind glass.
So I thought Dan. I didn't know that Dan went. I didn't know if he went home or not yesterday.
No, he's driving. He's driving home today.
Okay. So they will let you see him today.
Yeah, but I mean it's gonna be behind glass. I'm gonna be picking up a phone, talking to him through a sheet of glass.
So did you get sleep last night?
Yeah, on and off. I mean, they got the lights on. It's bright in here. It's like yeah. I just wanted to call and say hi. I don't even know why.
No,
Oh, that's okay.
I'm glad
That's
you
all right.
did it. I was actually just talking to Dan, so it's not like we were sleeping.
Yeah.
But
You were talking to Dad or Dan?
Dan.
It's cold.
Yeah, but gonna have to talk when we have a moment about things that we need to take care of. Okay?
Yeah, I know the money and stuff like that. No, I got you.
Roman.
What?
And I have things I need to take care of for Roman, and ways that we can take care of him and help him. So there's that, which is the most important. And then and figuring out about the dog. So gotta take care of things, Charlie. We gotta take care of things.
It's like I'm dead. I mean, I hate to tell you this. It ain't a whole lot different. Oh, fuck.
No, please, I know.
Oh, fuck. I listen to everybody.
During Donna's trial, something else emerged. Tensions within the Adelson family. Wendy, Charlie and Donna's sister and daughter respectively, had not reached out after Charlie's conviction. In recorded jail calls between Charlie and Donna, Donna read text messages from Wendy, expressing frustration that everyone was trying to protect Wendy while the rest of them faced justice. Rob, another Adelson son, testified against his mother, describing a family dynamic where Donna's was law, where disagreeing with her meant exile. The perfect family facade was crumbling in real time. And then there's the body cam footage. In September 2025, as Charlie was being transported from prison to Tallahassee for his mother's trial, he was filmed eating Wendy's in the transport van. He was smiling, laughing, thanking the officers for stopping to get him food. The disconnect was staggering. Here was a man convicted of orchestrating a murder, facing life in prison, and he was acting like he was on a road trip with friends. This footage disturbed people in ways that courtroom testimony couldn't, because it revealed something more unsettling than anger or remorse. It showed complete detachment, as if the gravity of what he'd done hadn't fully registered, or maybe he simply didn't care.
My man. Thank you so much, man.
Charlie, we are across the street from the jail. I'll go as slow as I can, but you eat what you. I ain't gonna. You eat it all. I'm not gonna take you out the van until you're done. You good?
Any chance I could just take one cup off? You want that? I'll take the dye and eat. Stand up.
Sit down. Sit down. Which hand with it?
Sit down.
Then I can take my shirt off too.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
It's just hot as fuck. Thank you so much, man. You're the best.
Little fist bump. And he's got his Wendy's. He's about to chow down. So see, here's this, it's a small checkered print. In the photo that Joel had, the jacket, he didn't have his arms through the sleeves. He just had it over him, like going through security at airport. Or going through... Yeah, that's right. Is that a nugget and some sauce? What kind of sauce, guys? Barbecue? He's like, oh my God. Prison food must be really bad if Wendy's is tasting that good. Or maybe he just hasn't eaten in a while because of the day of travel. Go Charlie, go Charlie. and like fountain soda. Do you think they get fountain soda in jail or it's out of a can? Because I'm a...
Other body cam footage showed Charlie berating jail staff over a stubbed toe, demanding to speak to supervisors, acting as if he was still entitled to special treatment despite being a convicted murderer. The behavior revealed something crucial. Charlie Adelson had spent his entire life believing that his wealth, his status, his family name would protect him from consequences. Even after conviction, even behind bars, he couldn't let go of that belief. Donna's behavior behind bars was similar. Footage showed her demanding special accommodations, arguing with staff, unable to accept her new reality. These were people who had never been told no, who had never faced genuine consequences, and now they were learning that prison doesn't care about your dental practice or your net worth. When the jury heard the actual phone conversations between Charlie and Katie, unfiltered and in context, they weren't just hearing words. They were hearing the mechanics of conspiracy, the careful dance of two people who knew they needed to be cautious but couldn't help revealing the truth.
You may continue with publishing the next call.
Thank you, Judge. The next call is BB.
What happened? Somebody called my dad's office today looking for him, saying that they dropped off some paperwork to him, last week. And there was a phone number on there, and it's actually the person named Erica. And then Erica called my mom up because she's like, normally I wouldn't call you up, but I got a strange phone call.
Where's the phone number that they're calling from, though?
I can ask Erica, but Erica said, yeah, my name is Sandy, called the office this morning, saying that I left some paperwork with Dr. Adelson last week, and I left a number on there, and you need to call me at that number.
No, somebody's like fucking pulling your bones and shit.
Well, this is the third.
Call the number. Call the number. They don't want to call on my fucking phone.
There's someone who wants to be called back. Let's put it that way. Do you still have the number?
Yeah, well, obviously that number, nobody picks me up. That's not a working number. It's like an email number.
Nobody's calling the leg. I'm just asking you to find out who the fuck it is.
It's like, get that number that's off of the thing, off of the number, off of the freaking, caller ID.
At the office?
Yeah, obviously. Because this is like a fucking bullshit game.
Well, they're not coming out on foot, they're not writing letters, and they're not calling the office because they have nothing better to do.
Well, I don't know what to tell you because I called that number myself.
Okay, well, let's call that number again and find out what the fuck's going on.
And nobody picks up. And you just provide another number and left a message.
Okay, well,
I'm trying to get whoever's threatening your family and helping you guys out and trying to help you guys out, but it's like if they don't pick up, then what the fuck? It's a fucking joke.
I understand that they fucking called this morning and they're waiting for the phone call. That's what I'm telling you. And since it's 3 times.
The number or whatever that is that's calling you or your family, or whatever it is.
6570. You have the number.
Exactly. That number is obviously, it's like a non-working number.
Okay, can you find out?
Okay, and it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's either somebody's pulling your phone, somebody is just harassing you, or somebody's trying to get something out of you.
Find out who the fuck it is, because the other phone call is going to be the FBI. I'm telling you. Well, I'm telling you, and then when they do catch the person, They're going to be asking lots of questions about whose Katie is.
We already spoke about this. It's like not even like a fucking joke anymore because obviously it's like somebody's fucking harassing you guys, or somebody's harassing and using my name. And it's like,
Okay.
I don't know.
Think it through. Find out who the fuck it is. That's all I'm asking.
No, I'm not going to straight on my fucking cell phone because it's fucking bullshit. It's fucking somebody trying to fucking pinpoint some bullshit. Like it's getting aggravating.
Yeah, it is. All I'm saying is find out who the fuck it is and tell them to stop playing their games. I don't know who you have to talk to, but it needs to be missing the butt.
No, man, I'm going to handle this shit myself, bro. This is some fucking bullshit. I'm going to handle it my motherfucking self. Well, change my motherfucking number. They fucking, if Erica wants to call back and like, oh, is this the right number? Okay, I'll have your fucking, whatever fucking shit taken care of. Okay? Because this is fucking bullshit. I'm correct, bro. I'm about to go to that fucking FBI. I'm fucking getting irate with this shit already. It's either the FBI fucking playing games or fucking whatever it is because I'm fucking getting pissed.
Alright, go find out.
I'm saying. You give a wrong phone number. Maybe you're an idiot. You give a fucking wrong number. Get the fucking number to fucking call because I'm gonna call them.
Okay.
And the fucking type to me, I don't even fucking give a shit about all this fucking bullshit, whatever shit anymore. Okay. I'm pissed the fuck off. Like, I'm gonna fucking go to the hospital now.
Okay, well, either you go to the cops or we go to the cops.
Exactly.
We'll find out.
We're both gonna fucking go to the hospital because this is fucking bullshit.
We'll find out who the fuck this is. Because this person evidently knows you and knows your family.
Yeah,
they know me,
exactly.
they know my family. So.
You don't think that fucking scares the shit out of me? Like somebody fucking saying my name out loud or whatever?
If someone's messing with you, they're messing with me. If someone's messing with me, they're messing with you. It's one and the same. So what I'm saying is, find out who the fuck.
That number doesn't fucking work. If you can get a hold, you go to different offices, call the motherfucking number. See if the fucking number works. Bottom line. Because I tried myself and that shit does not work.
Hey, call them, find out who the fuck it is now. Trust me on this. Find out who the fuck it is.
Get the number, listen to me, and get the number and something over the stage because there were four people. I'm gonna call your parents to go fucking FBI. We're all fucking doing this thing and fucking go and fucking report whoever's harassing you. That's it.
Hey, I gotta get back to it. You have the number I gave you the other day.
I have the fucking number. I have told
good.
you.
Call it.
Listen, I called the number. This is not a working number.
Good.
Get the number that calls your fucking office. Listen to me for once.
I will. You're going to call Erica.
Fucking A, bro. I'm gonna fucking fuck up whoever the fuck is fucking with me.
I'm going to call my mom and have my mom call
Get
your
the
office.
fucking number. Because somebody's fucking there, that number's been called and that's not a working number. It's either somebody's playing you, somebody's tapping into some shit, and somebody's just trying to fucking aggravate somebody.
Okay, let me.
And I'm aggravated.
Do you want me to have Erica go on the caller ID and look to see what number that was that called?
Number. Obviously, you're calling from somewhere else, and it's not the same number that you say. How about you call and find that out?
Okay, do me a favor. Try that number I gave you the other day, and I'm going to call my mom and tell her to call Erica and ask her to look it up on the caller ID. Okay? But call them.
Whatever it is.
All right. Tension's rising a little bit.
A little bit. As of now, 5 people have been convicted in Dan Markel's murder. Sigfrido Garcia, the shooter, is serving life. Luis Rivera, the driver, is serving 19 years after his plea deal. Katherine Magbanua, the go-between, is serving life plus 60 years. Charlie Adelson is serving life without parole. And Donna Adelson is serving life without parole. But there's one more name that keeps coming up. One more person who is mentioned in every trial, who testified multiple times, who has never been charged with any crime. Wendy Adelson, Dan Markel's ex-wife, the mother of his children. The reason prosecutors say this entire conspiracy existed. Throughout the trials, evidence emerged suggesting Wendy may have known more than she let on. Her suspicious behavior on the day of the murder. Her familiarity with the route the killers took. The fact that she drove past Dan's house that morning, something she claimed was accidental. Her statements to police that seemed carefully crafted. After both Charlie and Donna's convictions, prosecutor Georgia Kappelman was asked about Wendy. Her response? Stay tuned. Those two words have left everyone wondering if there's one more chapter to this story. One more person who might finally face justice for Dan Markel's death. Think about what this case reveals about us, about how we think about crime and justice. We expect criminals to look a certain way, to come from certain backgrounds. We don't expect them to be wealthy professionals with advanced degrees and successful businesses. We don't expect them to casually eat fast food while being transported to a murder trial. We don't expect a grandmother to help orchestrate the killing of her grandchildren's father. But that's exactly what happened here. The Adelson family had every advantage. They had money. They had connections. They had lawyers on speed dial. And they used all of it to try to commit the perfect crime. But here's what they didn't account for. They didn't account for Luis Rivera's conscience catching up with him. They didn't account for the FBI's patience and persistence. They didn't account for audio technology improving to the point where their Dolce Vita conversation became crystal clear. They didn't account for their own family members eventually telling the truth. And most of all, they didn't account for the possibility that they might actually be held accountable. Dan Markel's parents, Ruth and Phil Markel, have attended every significant hearing, every trial, every sentencing. They've watched as the people responsible for their son's death have been brought to justice one by one. After Donna's conviction, Phil Markel addressed the media. He said they wouldn't be fully happy until everyone involved was brought to justice. Everyone. That word hung in the air. Because everyone knows who he was talking about. This case asks us to confront uncomfortable questions. How far would you go for family? At what point does loyalty become complicity? When does helping someone you love cross the line into helping them commit murder? The Adelson family believed that blood was thicker than everything. Thicker than law. Thicker than morality. Thicker than two young boys' right to have their father in their lives. And that belief destroyed them. Charlie Adelson's appeal is scheduled for oral arguments in February 2026. He's arguing that his trial should have been moved, that there were conflicts with his attorney, that evidence was improperly admitted. Donna has also filed appeals. They're both claiming they didn't get fair trials. But the reality is that they got exactly what they didn't want anyone else to get. Accountability, consequences, justice. And now they have the rest of their lives to think about whether it was worth it. Whether silencing Dan Markel was worth spending decades behind bars. Whether keeping the grandchildren close was worth never seeing them grow up as free people. As this case continues to develop, as Wendy Adelson's future remains uncertain, as the appeals process winds through the courts, one thing remains clear. Dan Markel's children lost their father because a family couldn't accept a court's custody ruling. They lost him because wealth and privilege created a sense of entitlement so profound that murder seemed like a reasonable solution to an inconvenient problem. They lost him because the adults in their lives put their own desires above a child's fundamental right to be loved by both parents. Those two boys are teenagers now. They've grown up without their father. They've grown up knowing that their mother's family orchestrated his death. They've had to process the reality that the grandparents who probably showered them with love and gifts were the same people who pay to have their father killed. The psychological damage of that knowledge is incalculable. These children are victims in every sense of the word, and their victimization continues every day as they try to make sense of their family's actions. Think about what was stolen from them. Not just a father, but their entire sense of family, of trust, of safety. How do you grow up normal when your family history includes murder for hire? How do you form healthy relationships when the people who were supposed to protect you were actually destroying your world? How do you reconcile love for family members with the knowledge of what they've done? These are questions those boys will spend their entire lives trying to answer. This is Dark Trail Files, and this is what happens when control becomes a cage. When the desperate need to manipulate outcomes, to bend the world to your will, leads you down a path you can never return from. Charlie Adelson believed he could outsmart everyone. He believed his coded language was clever. He believed his extortion defense would work. He believed that even if he was arrested, he'd talk his way out of it. He'd spent his entire life talking his way through problems, using charm and intelligence and family connections to get what he wanted. But there's no talking your way out of a life sentence. There's no clever explanation that makes a jury forget about a murdered father. There's no amount of money that buys your way back to freedom once 12 people have looked at the evidence and said guilty. The Adelson case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about how we view crime. We have stereotypes about what criminals look like, where they come from, how they behave. We expect violence from certain communities and are shocked when it comes from gated communities and country clubs. But evil isn't limited by zip code or income bracket. Entitlement, the belief that you deserve to have things your way regardless of the cost to others, can exist anywhere. And sometimes, the most dangerous people are those who've never been told no, who've never faced genuine consequences, who've been protected by wealth and status their entire lives. If you want to stay updated on this case as it continues to develop, as appeals are decided, and as the question of Wendy Adelson's involvement potentially moves forward, you need to subscribe to Dark Trail Files right now. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on all notifications. Because cases like this don't end with a verdict. They continue evolving, revealing new layers, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature and justice. The next chapter of this story could break tomorrow, next month, or next year. Make sure you're here when it does. The Adelson conspiracy shows us that evil doesn't always announce itself with dramatic music and shadowy figures. Sometimes it wears a white coat and drives a Ferrari. Sometimes it speaks in code, words about rental properties while planning murder. Sometimes it smiles for the camera while eating fast food on the way to face the consequences of taking a life. And sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who believe they're simply doing what needs to be done for family. Remember Dan Markel. Remember his children. And remember that justice, no matter how delayed, eventually finds its way to the truth. This is Dark Trail Files. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and never forget that the darkest trails often start in the places we least expect. Until next time.